Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. If you have your own song suggestion you'd like to submit for special selections, you can find a link to do so in the description below. Today's suggestion comes at us from Autumn Sphere. This is another Fall of the Leaf request, this track being All the Good Faith, and it seems like this came off of their final album, as stated there, which is going to be interesting. Getting to check out a track from theirs a bit later in their career and see where they took this idea. Alright, so this is Fall of the Leaf, Drawing Worry. Yeah. Really strong bass presence. I love all the production here. The cymbal and the bass kick sound so good. Yeah, utilizing a little transition as a pre-chorus to introduce the new guitar idea. There's a lot of vibrato on that vocal line in the chorus. Lots of driving energy though. No pre-chorus this time, we just go right into it. We put the pre-chorus as a post-chorus. That's an interesting idea. Really interesting moment there. Some rapid shifting. Love the counterpoint. And retaining that same rhythm. Yeah. Tie the two sections together, which it sorely needs. All right. Yeah, that was very neat. So they have a bit of this alt rock vibe going on. They're bouncing back and forth between a couple of modes, but see, here's the thing too: is structure. Structure is what makes this immensely interesting to me. It starts out, we have our intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and I was like, okay, I kind of see where this is going. Remembering some of the Follow Leaf we checked out 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and I'm expecting to move on with this, and we don't. We start jumping around with ideas. We do have another verse and chorus lyrically, but not musically. And then instead of a pre chorus, we use that pre chorus as our post chorus to lead us into our bridge section, which is a lot of sections where we're constantly bouncing back and forth between the hard rock driving stuff and the melodic, clean guitar ideas. And switching around between these at a blistering rate. I can't even tell you what the structure of this section was. I'm just going to call it the bridge. And yeah, it's just a bizarre, chaotic idea. Even the vocals don't feel like sticking around with one style. We get cleans in our heavier sections, and we get growls and highly compressed vocals in some of our clean sections. And they're not consistent either. We flip them around as well, where they line up more consistently with what we would expect from the musical styles. It is just a whirlwind of a moment before we return back to our chorus and finish the track out. Uh, that whole middle section, plus the little bit of subversion in our second verse, our lead into our second chorus, and the post chorus, which is a repurposing of a pre chorus. It's just an exceptionally gutsy decision to go in this direction. With this sort of structure. I've been taken off guard by song structure before, but I think this one, at least as far as my mind goes, it kind of takes the cake because of where it lulls me into based on how we begin and what I know about them from the previous songs we've checked out on their previous albums. To start off the song this way and make it feel like a typical alt rock kind of track, and then just take it in a completely different direction structurally, not musically. Everything still kind of fits alt rock that way. But to eschew the ABABCB pattern and say, you know what, we're gonna do our own thing here. And I mean, technically, they still do. We have a verse and we have a verse, chorus concept. It gets a little muddy as far as consistency goes, but it's still, at least lyrically, verse, chorus. And then we technically do have a C section. That's our bridge, but it's just made up of so many smaller sections that I really only call it one section for simplicity's sake, because I honestly have no idea what went on in there. There's just so many elements. So, I mean, if you want to view it from a certain angle, yes, it follows the typical ABABCB pattern. But at least my perspective, looking a bit more at the micro level than the macro, it's a bit more experimental with its structure than that. I think to say that it does that while technically being true is also a bit reductive. Um, and it continued to surprise me throughout all the twists and turns that I would feel wrong if I said that it followed that standard pattern. Even though, like I said, there is an argument you can make for it, but it doesn't feel that way when you're listening to it. And I think that's the most important part: is not what it is technically, but how it feels while you're listening to it, what it feels like in real time. And that I always find to be more accurate to describing a song is what it's doing in the moment rather than what it's doing from a bird's eye view. Um, so let's dig into the two moments. We have the guitar, the bass, drums, all going at a really nice blistering pace through our faster sections, our more driving, energetic sections. There's a couple of different riffs that we have on these. The one that is freshest in my mind, the one I think of most clearly, is the one we had at the end, which was this really nice idea of these constant attacks with emphasized beats every once in a while. And I really like this moment. I just want to touch on it real quick because it was interesting. Um, we had an accented downbeat on our first bar. No other accents, I think, until our second bar when we accented beats 1, 2, 3, and then the 2/16 notes leading out of the bar into the next one. It took me a second to figure out what was going on there because it feels odd, but when you count it in four at the tempo that they're at, it's just every downbeat, which is an odd way to accent things, but it works really well in there when you juxtapose it to what the drums are doing, which is playing in. They have that same speed in the bass kicks, I think, no, in the cymbal work, but the snare has sort of a halftime feel, so it doesn't really feel like every downbeat. It feels like constant eighth notes, which is just, it's a really nice little burst of energy at the end of the bar rather than one bar of nothing and then one bar of constant. And yeah, it just really works well in context of what's going on around it. I think it's kind of an odd guitar line on its own with the accents, but taken as a whole, it works perfectly well there. But yeah, that's one of the ideas of just constant driving guitar work that we hear. The bass, yes, so much. The bass has a few different lines of forward momentum, melodic forward momentum. Unlike the guitar in that situation I just showed you, where it's just hammering on the same note and using rhythmic differentiation to create variety in the line, the bass utilizes notes. We have melody coming out of the bass in several sections across this track. In fact, it almost feels like in some cases it is the lead melody or is doing counterpart against or with the another lead melody. It so frequently takes the spotlight both melodically and production wise that I can't not have a smile on my face throughout most of this track, primarily because of it. I don't necessarily remember a lot of bass in Fall of the Leaf. I probably should have listened back on those two tracks that we checked out a couple weeks ago. But I thought I had a pretty good understanding of them, and bass is just I kind of remember it being there production wise, but not musically. And here it's killing it musically. I absolutely love it. Counterpoint with a bass like that is just not something you hear too often in rock and metal, and it is so good to have that here. The drums are rather consistently sitting in the pocket. I didn't really hear anything too strange out of them. They have some really nice driving moments. Lots of energy in the bass kicks and the cymbal work. The snare does a good job of keeping the energy in the pocket, of accenting every other beat to keep the energy forward moving, but it just kind of sits there in the pocket. Unlike the bass, which has those really nice melodic moments, and the guitar, which has a couple of melodies and counterpoints with the bass and provides a lot of forward momentum rhythmically, the drums sort of just keep the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've mentioned that before, but it is interesting, at least to me, that in this track, I don't know about other tracks on the album, every instrument, including the vocals, which I haven't touched on yet, are given a chance to show off somehow, some way, even if it's just a little line somewhere in the song. And I don't feel like the drums get that, but that's not necessarily anything against the song. This song doesn't have to be a perfect showcase of every member of the band. I just find it a little interesting that everybody got a chance except the drums. And I guess we'll go into the softer section, which is our pre-chorus and our chorus. Not really softer because the chorus is still loud volume-wise, but we shift from less of a bite on the guitar. And we kind of clean that up a little bit. It's still electric, it's just not as overdriven, maybe. Interestingly, whenever we do this, we shift away from chords and fast playing to chordal melody writing, in that I think the left hand is still creating chordal shapes, but instead of just strumming the whole chord, we play one note at a time. In this case, it felt like it was constant eighth notes to create a moving melody out of it, but the idea is still to create a chord underneath the music. It's just that the chord is played one note at a time rather than all at once. It also provides a little bit of forward momentum, though, because the bass, who typically brings a lot of the intensity and drive, slows down a little bit in the chorus, as do the drums. So we only have one guitar, I think. We don't have the affordance of a rhythm guitar and a lead guitar, so we bring them together. We have a forward moving line, constant eighth notes is our rhythm. However, the idea of it is about playing a chord and presenting the chord through single attacks. So that feels like I said, a bit of a necessity. They still want a chordal structure here, but they still need a driving momentum, and they don't have two guitars to do it. Rather than double tracking the guitars, they combine both ideas into a single concept. It's something we hear a lot, especially in one guitar bands, but I wanted to point it out here because Follow the Leaf, I don't really think they're that big of a band. It's interesting. They're all presented by the same person, Autumn Sphere, but it's a name that I just don't hear too often. They only have 84 subscribers on YouTube. Granted, this is their topic page, not their official page, but still, the song only has 500 views, so I'm thinking they're a smaller band. I just kind of want to point that out for them. They're on the right track if they're still making music or if they plan on still making music. I remember the comment said this was their last album, but I don't know if that just means their last one forever and they quit, or maybe they're on a hiatus. I don't know the situation. Um, so yeah, like I mentioned, the drums and the bass back off a little bit, and the drums pick up. I mean, the guitars pick up the intensity, as well as take the melody. So where does that leave us with the vocals? I kind of have the same things to say about them this time as I did last time. They're definitely hitting the right pitches. I don't think there's any problems with that. There's no intonation issues at all. It's just a vocal style, accent. I don't even know what to call it. I have such a difficult time understanding the words. And I think if I remember correctly, I should probably look this up real quick because I don't want to have this wrong multiple times. I think this is not an American band, or an English band, I should say. Yeah, they're Finnish, and maybe that's what it is. Um, so yeah, this came off of their 2007 album. Yep, and they have not made anything since. So I doubt they're still making stuff. They've been together since '96. First album was in '98, so they made music for a decade. Put out 6 albums. Does not seem like a small band to me. Um, Also, I'm seeing they have a logo here that I have not been using. I think I've been using just text because I couldn't find one, but I found one. Anyways, though, yeah, the Finnish thing might be my problem. I don't know how thick the accent is coming through, but if I remember correctly, these lyrics are in English. What is this track called again? Drawing Worry. Um, but it's just so difficult for me to pick up on. Yeah, they're in English. Difficult to pick up syllables at all. Um, but here's the other thing I want to talk about because I don't want it to be completely negative. Like I said, there's still a lot of strong power behind the vocals. I like the intonations, the inflections, the growls. I dig them as well. In fact, I think the growls are very powerful, and I kind of wish they were used more. They're used very sparingly, and it gives them extra oomph, extra accent because they're not used often. And to me, it really works as a punctuation, like an exclamation mark. You use too many and they mean nothing, but if you use exclamation mark sparingly, well, it means excitement or emergency. When you see it, it's a rarity, so you know something's up. And that's what's happening here, I think. I do wish they were used more, but it does have a lot of impact when they do get used because it puts extra emphasis on those words. Um, but it was the first chorus. I don't remember it in the second or third. No, I don't think it was. There was just a ton of vibrato, and I don't even know what to think of it. It almost felt like the vocalist was pushing their vocal cords to their limit, and they were wavering. It was so perfect and precise, um, that it feels more natural than self-created. But I don't know. Maybe that's just the way the vocalist wanted to put it there. It's just it was such a tight vibrato though. It was so fast. Um and like I said, I don't know what to make of it, but it definitely drew my ear to it. Um and I think that's about it. I mean, we can talk about the bridge, but I'm just going to be repeating myself. We have more of the driving sections, more of the melodic sections, and the vocals kind of mix and match their style with the two of them. To me, the more important thing is what it's telling me storyline wise or emotionally, which is just a whirlwind. It's chaotic. It's every four bars we're doing something different. Sometimes we have a section stick around for 8 bars. Or at least to me, didn't seem much of a pattern to it. It was raw chaos of flipping between two channels on a TV without any control over it. You never know when you're gonna move between the two shows. Um, and it's an oddity compared to everything else. Oh, one last thing I want to talk about though is this idea of reutilizing sections, right? This is something I'm so glad I remembered this. The first thing we heard doing this was that our verse 2 didn't use the pre chorus that we saw after verse 1 to lead into our chorus. We just had a very stark switch from the two ideas. I really liked this pre chorus coming before our chorus 1. It allowed the ideas of our chorus to be introduced outside of the context of the chorus so that we could gently ease into them. I thought that was a gorgeous way to go about doing it, but then we didn't get it. We had this really rough transition going into our second chorus. I was like, well, that's a shame, but it is something we hear sometimes. Shortened verses, cutting off pre choruses, just ways to get back into the chorus faster on our second time through. These are things that I've heard in quite a few alt rock and radio rock style songs. However, we didn't just do that. That's what it seemed like at the moment. Instead, we rearranged it and we put it after the chorus as a lead out rather than a lead in, and it worked so well to take us into the bridge. This isn't the only time we've seen reutilization of things we've already written before, though. There is a few parts during the bridge and leading out of the bridge where the vocal line and the guitar line are the same thing. They get passed back and forth. It's just the melody that gets handed to whatever instrument takes the lead at the moment. And I really enjoy that. This is something I've talked about a lot. Work smarter, not harder. If you've already written something, find a way to reuse it. Reuse, reduce, recycle your musical ideas. So yeah, that works really well. I had the lyrics pulled up. Let's dig into this. The day might disturb your sleep as you carry on into the low, low mist, past whatever was burning away, past entire groups of words while at it. Bring her back and close your eyes a bit tighter. You don't want to see the wrecks of men while there, although they still frequent your sleep like whatever rebellious little trespassers visit your dreams for what? To be swallowed by the same surrounding walls as you are. Silly. But it's their eyes, the ones that flee every straight question, the ones that draw worry in small circles around you. Yeah, I got nothing here. Ah, the day might disturb your sleep as you carry on into the mist. And as you're moving into this mist, you go past whatever was burned away. You go past entire groups of words while you're at it, while you're moving through this mist, while you're still asleep, supposedly. You bring her back and close your eyes tighter because you don't want to see the wrecks of men while you're there, although they still frequent your sleep like whatever rebellious little trespassers visit your dreams. All to be swallowed by the same walls as you are. They're silly. But it's their eyes that fleece questions, the ones that draw worry in small circles around. I have no idea what this is about. Oh man, it's deeply metaphorical. I'm wondering if there's some stuff that got lost in translation. There's some oddities to this. I'll say that. Also, I don't know if this is whoever posted these or not, but I mean, it could also just be with the flow of the song, but each line is not, we don't have punctuation, like a period at the end of lines. We have periods mid line. It makes it difficult to read at times, but I bet it lines up with the flow in the song, where each line is a single musical line. And we actually have sentences that we change sentences in the middle of a musical line, is what I'm saying. It makes it difficult to read, but I bet it makes sense in the music. Um, but yeah, there's some oddities in here, and it's so metaphorical too. I don't know. I'm gonna stop acting like a fool in front of a camera and ask for help. If you have any insight into these lyrics, let me know. They seem interesting, but I haven't got a clue. If you have any other comments, go ahead and drop them down in the comment section as well. Above the comments, head up to the description box. In there, you'll find a link for Linktree. This thing right here is where it takes you. There's links in here. You can pick up some merch, support the channel through Patreon, follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, email me, submit your own special selections, and so much more. Go ahead and check it out. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, that wraps it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.